Dr. John Randle himself, who is a nationalist, went to school in England, and it was through that he was brought to Lagos. And he was someone who had a huge love and a huge respect for the people of Lagos, and decided, in contrast to the colonial regime, who only created recreational spaces for themselves. He was the one that fought that indigenous people also deserve the same amount of leisure that you have. My name is Kudus Onikeku, and I am the inaugural CEO and Center Director for the John Randle Center for Yorùbá Culture and History. I think initially this was a project that was started by Lagos State about 8 years ago. And you can imagine the amount of, process of even understanding what the project is going to be, to understand how to get the best quality materials, to understand the curatorial, synopsis of what story do we actually want to tell with this place. And eventually the architectural design, then the content, the sorting for all the different artworks, the sound, the original works, the archival works from National Museum, all the different works that came from different kind of collectors. So it's something that really took that long for it to really become something that everybody can be enjoying now. This is 8 years long process of coming to this point. So I can imagine that, in putting something, epic, and most importantly, something that we've never done before in Nigeria, because this for me is the first time that we are really setting up what we can consider as a proper heritage center. And heritage for me really talks about the inheritance, things that we have inherited from our ancestors, and then we are trying to situate as an anchor space and also as a springboard for people who are living today about their own, history, about their own identity. So this is something that is of a first in Nigeria, and so we separate it from the whole idea of a museum. What I meant by that is, traditionally, museums are spaces where people go to more or less look at things that was maybe stolen or taken from other people, and as a way to also talk about other people. But this time around, we are not talking about other people. We are talking about Yoruba, story, Yoruba cosmogony, Yoruba philosophy, and we are mostly talking to Yorubas. So when you get involved in a situation like that, where you are trying to understand how do we package our own story, how do we organize our own story, how do we tell our own story to coming generations, this is something really, really, really novel. And so you can imagine the amount of try and error, try this, it doesn't work, let's do it this way. So as I speak, we are still, having difficulties to even understand the organizational framework, the legal framework within which we can actually set this. So Lagos State is really pioneering in that sense. So we are learning as we move. It's been completely a learning, curve for the last, 8 years. One of the really, intriguing part of the center since its opening is, I think it kind of like makes the claim that the Nigerians don't have a museum-going culture very false. I think for a while, history and even understanding of the self has been something that has been taken away from especially the younger generation in Nigeria. So the access to a physical experience like this has been really something of amazement to me myself because I can categorically tell you that the moment it opened, one of the few things that I did was to already cut this whole idea of, oh, it's a museum, you cannot take pictures, you cannot take photos. I said, no, I know my target. They need to take pictures and they need to put it on Snapchat, on TikTok, on Instagram, on Twitter, and precisely what really made the effect. Then people started making pictures about their experiences, making videos, content about their experiences, and we automatically got this ripple effect of people just trooping in, that in our 100 days, we opened this place on November 24th, 2024, and we didn't close it up until January 2nd. Then from January 2nd, we took like a week break, and since then we started closing it only on Tuesdays. And in 100 days, we've had over 20,000 visitors, and we made over 80 million naira. And that was as at February 7th. Now, this is, about 5 months in, and the number has almost doubled. So for me, I feel like there is a new interest, there is a new hunger for something that I'm not the only one responsible for it. I think generally there is a kind of a Yorùbá renaissance from the film industry, from content creators, from Masoyinbo, from Washere, from Lishabi, Jagun Jagun. There is a kind of interest in Yorùbá stories that is done well. So for me, I feel like this center is participating in that new, crop of creatives that are paying real serious attention to the quality of craft and attention that they're putting to the details around storytelling, around cultural products. So one thing that we've realized, actually, because I don't know if we did anything special to achieve that, is that younger people in their 20s, in their early 30s, have been, for me, the majority of the audiences that we've had. And also because we made it free of charge to children under 10. So we've had a number of that as well. Then schools, a lot of primary schools, secondary schools, even universities have come from Babcock, University of Ife. People have come from different schools around Lagos. Then I can say Nigeria because University of Ife and the rest of them came as well. Then outside of that, we've also had communities. So for example, we hosted the French community, the German community, the Dutch community, Italian community, the British community. And all of these are people who have been coming. And also, I've hosted a couple of celebrities as well. Anthony Joshua, Wizkid, Fowls the Bad Guy, Mr. Easy. A couple of people have also been here, even Vector. Then also talking about ambassadors, the US ambassador, the UN ambassador, the French ambassador, the American ambassador, the German ambassador. We've had good outcome from different communities that have actually been here. And that also tells me about there's a way you can tell your story. There's a way you can tell your story in an authentic way that even those who are not part of that culture will find it fascinating. Igbo people, Hausas, different tribes, even within Nigeria, have come here and said, wow, I didn't really know this much about Yoruba people. I love this culture. And my own goal really is to make sure that this is not going to be an anomaly in Nigeria or just a one-off. I want every culture, every state to have their own. Generally, we usually don't like to, call it a museum. Of course, for obvious reason that the museum itself has a very colonial past, a colonial, connotation that we are trying to move away from. Apart from that fact, Dr. John Randle had a huge love and a huge respect for the people of Lagos and decided, in contrast to the colonial regime, who only created recreational spaces for themselves. He was the one that fought that indigenous people also deserve the same amount of leisure that you have. So he was the one that fought to build that swimming pool in 1928. And that swimming pool for me is one of the main reasons why this place is not only about culture, it's also about history. So that swimming pool, when you swim inside that swimming pool or when you're around it, you're actually around history. You're around stories. That is very, very important. A lot of our fathers and our grandfathers actually learned how to swim in that pool. People will come from Surulere, from Documenatary, from Ikoyi, from Lagos Island, and that was also like a kind of like a meeting point for them at that time. So for me, I want to create a space where when you come around, you are part of something larger. For me, culture is not really about products. Culture is a collective way of living, a way of life of a people. And culture is not made by an individual. Culture is made by a collective. So when this collective, there are creative people, there are market people, there are sport people, there are craftsmen, there are hairdressers, there are market women. And all of this is what would come together to actually form the culture of the time. So I'm very much, very, very deliberate about making this space an epicenter or a hub for the creatives in general. So you will have music programs that we've done here. We've done film screenings. We've done symposiums. We've done festivals. And one thing that we have used as a way to also get in is that we have really made it open, especially to filmmakers who wants to either shoot some of their scenes in our space or also do their movie premiere. So far, we've done 2 movie premieres here. And the first one was Lishabi, which was done in the beginning of the year, in January. And we also had the Artifact that was just done, just recently. And what was also amazing about the use of the way Artifact used the space is that they would also use the pool side for the after party. So for me, I've always been excited when I see people come with ideas because I know what the space is. But each time new people come and say, oh, we can do this here, we can do this there, I want to turn it into a canvas like that to people who have ideas and say, you know what, I want to, for example, over the weekend, some people did they turned the hall downstairs into a special fine dining restaurant for 20 people. A surprise birthday party from one husband to his wife. Those are the kind of interesting ideas I'm excited about. How can we turn this place into a canvas of different ideas? The way Whiskey used it for his music video, completely turn it around as well. I've never seen it used in that sense. So for me, I'm excited to see how people get to interact with this space as a canvas, really. So one of the things that I really hope to achieve in the interim is to start to really activate different kinds of programming. We've been doing a lot of background work, but while we're doing that, we're making other people do whatever they want to do in the space. But for me, it goes a bit beyond that. There's something that I came up with we called Create. So Yorùbá Create, that's the framework within which we're working. C for community, R for research, E for education, A for artist support, T for technology, and that's E for entrepreneurship. So we are quite deliberate about really turning it into a community center. And the community for me ranges from Lagos Island community to the community of creatives and also to the community of Yorùbá globally. So I'm really interested in looking for how do we use new technology and new ideas to bring about, teaching the Yorùbá language, especially because those of us who are having young children now, young kids now, we know that there's a danger. There's a danger. Our kids don't have enough tools to be able to know, even when they understand Yorùbá, to know how to respond in Yorùbá to us. So we want to really deliberately reorganize something we call the Yorùbá Young Star Club, where you're not just coming to learn language, but you're also learning songs, singing, drumming, dancing, and also learning how to swim. But all of that will be communicated in Yorùbá. So that like that is much more experiential and you can already practice your jaw in how to respond, because our teachers will not respond to you in English. So we are doing the reverse of vernacular. Now, when you speak English here, that's vernacular. That's when you pay fine. So it's a reverse engineering that we're doing, because I think many people undermine the amount of work that colonialism did. What is done to us, it's much more than we actually imagine. Colonialism really, by its nature, it's violent. And what I mean by that is that it is the forceful erasure and removal of something that was and replaced by another thing that was alien to that thing. So once you achieve that work of replacement, to replace it has to be a greater amount of work that needs to be done. So I feel like this space is actually very, very deliberate in looking for how do we really psychologically think about those things and then put programs in place to kind of like do the reverse psychology of that. That's one thing. Technology is another thing that we're really very interested in. Interested in the digital life of all of these things. So that like that, Yoruba people are known to be global people. We're not only situated in Lagos. You don't have to come to Lagos to experience or to be part of what's happening here. How can we use technology as a way to bridge that gap? How can we connect Yoruba people from Nigeria to Benin Republic, to Cuba, to Brazil, to Trinidad and Tobago, to Sierra Leone, to Liberia? How do we reconnect all of that? How do we reunite, more or less, the diaspora as well as the people at home? So there's something we're very deliberate about. How do we use technology as a way to bridge that gap? Also, how do we use artificial intelligence as a way to repossess all our intelligence and our knowledge and our philosophy that has been written in other languages, English, Spanish, French, Portuguese? How do we resituate them and relocalize them in Yoruba language? To do that work is not going to be easy. So we say, you know what, why don't we train our own GPT system? Why don't we get our own large language modeling and then create a ChatGPT, more or less, that speaks Yoruba more than anybody else. Use everybody's Yoruba input and Yoruba understanding to teach our own AI, and then now task that AI to help us retranslate all our intelligence and all our philosophy that has been translated in other languages back into Yoruba language, so that Yoruba then becomes the central to itself. So anybody who wants to translate from Yoruba to other languages won't have to go from English to French, but they will come back to the language itself. So there's a kind of power in repossessing that we are trying to also establish. Then, of course, all of these things that we see here, for me, they do something we call the power of germination. Meaning, my hope is that people come into this space and they get ideas. They come into this space and like, you know what, I want to make a film. They come into this space and say, you know what, I want to make a fashion, idea. They come in and say, you know what, there's this culinary thing that I've been thinking about. So that like that, we also then create enabling space for artist support and also for entrepreneurship. I have this app I want to build. I want to, how do we have enough access to funding where we can start to say, you know what, our designers, our craftsmanship, our craftspeople, our artists, also deserve to make works that can get support from us. Because one of the things that we don't realize is that there is a war, there is a battle that is going on. It's soft. It's a soft, they call it soft power battle, where everybody is trying to impose their culture on other people, and they do it softly. They do it with funding. They do it with access. They do it with different ways. So how do we be really intentional about that? And also recovering our own people and say, you know what, the culture also need you. The way Americans are trying to woo you, the way the French and the Germans and the British and the Italians are trying to woo you with funding and with this kind of stuff. Let's also start thinking about this and centralizing ourselves. So for me, the vision is really bigger in terms of that. How soon, how quick are we going to achieve it? I don't know, but at least it's important to spit it out so that people are aware of where we should be looking in terms of direction.